Hello, this is episode 0 of Breaking the Fourth Wall. I am Shaun Cobble.
And I'm Shaun Sorenson.
And we are your hosts for this wonderful podcast. This is our very first origin episode, so it'll be a little shorter than our regular episodes are going to be. We're just kind of going to give you a little intro about us and what the podcast is hopefully going to be like. And do a couple of books that we like this week and a little bit of review of what we liked from last year. Not real comprehensive, but just a couple things that we liked. And maybe a couple things that are upcoming in the new year that we're looking forward to. This is our first time doing this, so there might be some mistakes. So bear with us.
Just accept it.
Just accept it. just accept that we are correct always, and we never make mistakes.
Not ever.
Ever.
I won't forget characters' names every week.
No. We do encourage input. We will have some email addresses to give you later and some Twitter, Facebook, and all that good stuff. So we encourage questions and input and corrections. And if there's books that you would like to hear us talk about, please do so. Let us know. If you don't agree with us, let us know, even though we're always right. We want to hear from you guys, so let us know what's up. Also, this is very important. This podcast is brought to you from InvestComics and Famous Faces and Funnies in West Melbourne, Florida. These guys are really awesome helping us out. InvestComics is going to be hosting and sharing this podcast, and Famous Faces are the comic book providers for us. They
I kind of work there. So.
And Shaun does work there. And by work there, I mean he is there 24/7.
I'm not there 24/7.
You're there.
I'm not there right now.
Because of this.
I don't work on Sundays.
He does make Jared work on Sundays so he can have a day off. So he's there 24/6.
Yes. That's acceptable.
So anyway, we're going to start out, tell you a little bit about us. You can go first, Sorenson.
Okay. So, I'm Shaun Shaun, as it was stated. I work at the comic store that's sponsoring this. Some of my favorite books that are coming out are Invincible from Image, Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley draw it. Walking Dead is also from Image. It's Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adler. I love the Green Lantern stuff, mainly Green Lantern New Guardian. I feel like the Green Lantern stuff needs a new change, though, just because it seems like they're doing the same kind of story over and over again. Let's see, Batman from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo has been amazing. That's one of the best books of 2012. I'm trying to think. Marvel Hawkeye. Hawkeye is the best book. Hawkeye is the best book from Marvel. Sorry if my voice is a little shot. I'm getting over being cold, so hopefully next week my voice sounds better. He
got mono from making out with the Hawkeye book so much.
It's just so pretty. The art in it's so gorgeous. It doesn't matter who they have drawing it. It's Aja or the other guy. I forget the other guy's name, but that's one of the best books. That's one of the best comics coming out right now. If you're not reading that, you need to go pick that up and read it.
That book does make me like a character I never gave a shit about before.
Yeah,
he was always an overrated character to me that couldn't do a whole lot, but everybody gave him a lot of hype. Like, he was the cool character to like, and this is the first time that a book has made me like him.
And the best part about it is it doesn't tie into the Avengers. It doesn't tie into the rest of the Marvel universe. And he doesn't wear that stupid outfit with the glasses that they forced upon him early last year. That's just ridiculous.
I don't know what's worse, his like silly purple outfit with the big eye fin things he had, or
he looks like one of the Venture Brother guys.
Yes, he does. He looks like one of the moth things, like the butterfly moth things. Or I don't know what's worse, that or the stupid Jeremy Renner version.
He was okay. He was okay in the movie, but yeah, just this book is just so great. And I think he's only worn the Hawkeye costume once or twice, maybe, in the 5 issues that have come out.
Even though it is funny when you see him like dive across the room naked, the old school Hawkeye face is blanking out his junk. That was pretty funny.
I really hope Marvel doesn't realize this is coming out and selling so well. Like, I hope they realize it, because if they don't, like, oh, let's cancel this book. No one's reading this. Like, bitch, it's our highest selling book in the store, Marvel-wise, next to Wolverine and the X-Men.
Well, the best thing about it is it's a Marvel Universe Avengers book that has nothing to do with the Marvel Universe or the Avengers. No. It doesn't cross over. You can pick up any issue, no matter what. and having never read any other issue, read it cover to cover, love it. Yeah. And then you could actually take all 6 issues that are out so far, shuffle them up, and blindly pick one out and read it, and do the rest for the same in any order, and totally love this book because there's there's an underlying theme definitely with the book. There's like an underlying plot going on.
Well, I think there's 2 issues that I think it was like 3 and 4 or 4 and 5.
There's the tape issue. Yeah.
So you got to read those 2 in order.
But even then, I think you could read them backwards and still enjoy it and really like what's going on. Like, it's a fun book with the art's great. David Aja and was it Matt Fraction, right?
Matt Fraction's right.
And they were the ones that did the Immortal Iron Fists.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So if you like that, same art, same writer, very similar. I don't know. I won't say they're the same kind of book, but if you like Immortal Iron Fist, you will really like.
Well, my thing with Fraction is I noticed his solo books are so much better than his team books. Like, he tried to do Uncanny X-Men and it just didn't work out. It just didn't seem right. And then he does Invincible Iron Man, he does this, and it's 2 of the best books that have come out the past 4 years from him.
Yes. It is an awesome book. All right, now me. I'm Shaun Cobble. I do not work at all with comic books. I have a little silly avionics technical job, but I love comics, and I read them for a long, long time. Since I was a little kid, and I've kind of gotten in and out over the years whenever stuff starts getting a little stupid, like when they had the...
So the 90s is what you're saying?
Yeah, I kind of got out in the 90s a little bit, and then again a couple years ago when they were starting to go overboard with variant covers and just silliness where you had to read every book by a company to even follow what was going on in one book. Like, I'm not down with that kind of stuff. Like, I read a lot of books, but I don't want to feel like I have to read all the books in order to enjoy what's going on in a universe. With the exception of Valiant, which they don't make you read all the books, but you really want to, and they don't have a whole lot of books, so I'm down with that.
5 books?
Yeah, there are 5 books right now, with more coming, and hopefully Quantum and Woody will come back. That would be awesome. I've always been more of a DC guy when it comes to the big 2. I just don't like the way Marvel handles a lot of their stuff, and I think they get a little ridiculous with, hey, this character is awesome, so we're going to put him in every book. Or, hey, I like the Avengers, we're going to have 17 Avengers titles. I'm not down with that. But I will have to admit, I've become more of a Marvel fan recently because of stuff like Hawkeye and Fantastic Four and FF and Daredevil, and they're putting out a lot of good books right now, and even some of the Marvel Now stuff like Indestructible Hulk and All New X-Men. Like, those are really, really good books. So I've been reading more Marvel. I do read a lot of indie stuff. Not really indie anymore, I guess non-big 2. I read a lot of Image. I do read some indie stuff too, but like, I'm really a really big fan of Image right now. They're putting out so much good stuff. I'm a huge fan of Valiant. I was a huge fan of Valiant before. I read pretty much everything they put out. It really killed me when they stopped publishing or when they sold to Acclaim and it went downhill. Even though that's when Quantum and Woody was coming out, and that book is one of the best books ever written, which they're available on Comixology right now, which is really awesome because those things have been out of print forever, and you can get them on Comixology really cheap.
Like part of their 99-cent sale that they always have?
Yeah, I got the whole run for like $25 or something. Like, it was ridiculous. So the new Valiant stuff, I'm a huge fan of. I'm reading every book. I mean, like I said, there's 5 books, so it's not a whole lot to keep up with.
I got to catch up on this.
Yeah, I'm like an issue behind on EXO, Man of War, and Harbinger, but all the other stuff I'm really caught up on. They're good stuff. I read a little bit of everything. I find it hard to find the time to read everything now because I work a lot and I read a lot of books, so it's hard to kind of keep caught up, but I'm doing my best. Okay, so now we're going to start out with, I don't know, what do you want to do first? Do you want to do some of the stuff we like from last year, or do you want to do a couple books from this week that we like? What would you like to start with?
It's hard to remember some of the stuff from last year, but let's try that.
Okay.
You wrote it down. You're fancy.
Yes.
I just got memory.
I got notes. What did I like last year? There's a lot of stuff that came out last year that was really good. I think DC was doing really well last year. Marvel was kind of hit or miss. I do like the stuff they're doing with Marvel now, but I think some of their books kind of got a little silly. I thought Avengers vs. X-Men was kind of stupid. There was some good stuff in it, But overall, I thought it was a really silly crossover that just took too long to do nothing.
Yeah, that just felt like another Marvel event that they wasted and put too much into.
Yeah, they hyped it up way too much for nothing really to happen that they're not going to just fix in a few months anyway. I don't know. But I've heard a lot. There's a lot of talk of all across the comic world about a few books that were kind of universally loved. Hawkeye obviously was fantastic.
Hawkeye was amazing.
It's getting all the hype for all the right reasons. It was a great book.
How it wasn't nominated for an Eisner is beyond me.
Yeah, I didn't even see the Eisner nominations list this year.
They put up like the ballot, I guess, and I don't think I saw it on any of them.
I'm always disappointed. Not all across the board. They usually do a few things right with the Eisners, but they always seem, I guess it's like any award, they always seem to leave some good stuff out and put some stuff in. It just makes you shake your head. And I think there's always a couple things every year that just get put in because they feel like they have to be there. And there's some things that are just put in because they're so indie and weird and creative. And it's like, come on, just put out the best books. Even if it's a popular book, it's good, it's good. I think, hands down, the best book to come out in the last year was Saga.
Yeah.
Saga, you can't beat. I mean, it's Brian K. Vaughan.
Fiona Staples.
Staples. The art's beautiful. The story's great. You fall in love with the universe, in 3 pages, and every issue is just a new groundbreaking. Like, holy shit! I can't believe that just happened.
Every issue at the end of it, I was just like, all right, cool. And there's the letter page that you always forget about. Like, there's more pages. Oh, son of a! That is such a great book. That is phenomenal. It's so good to see Brian K. Vaughan writing comics again. It seems like it's been years since he wrote comics, and he came back with that and just took over the comic market. It's fantastic.
Yeah, as much as I would like to see him writing like 10 books a month and I would buy them all, I can deal with him not writing 10 books a month or even him disappearing for a couple of years when he's going to come out with something as good as Saga. And this isn't telling you anything you don't already know. Everyone knows Saga is fantastic. If you don't and you haven't been reading it, then I don't know.
Go pick up the trade. It's $10.
Yeah.
6 issues, $10.
And it's only up to issue 9 now, so you can go out and spend under $20 and have every issue out.
Yeah.
It's great, and everyone already knows it's great. But just in case you haven't heard about it, which I don't understand why you hadn't heard about it, it's awesome. All the Valiant stuff, like I said before, I'm a huge Valiant fan. Every Valiant book that has come out so far, and I think they've been doing it right, spacing it out a little bit and not shoving 50 titles down your throat. And like their first crossover is going to be this Harbinger War thing, which is going to be cool. But I think they're doing it right and pacing it. Every book's been great. The art's been beautiful and everything. The stories have been great. I think they're doing everything right. And I hate paying $4 for any book. Like, it just bugs me to pay $4 for a comic book. But Valiant is like the only thing I don't mind paying $4 for. Like, I grab it and go, hey, this is worth every penny of that $4. Like, every issue is really good.
But you get a digital code with the Marvel stuff when you pay $4.
Yeah.
Because you need that digital code.
Yeah, I'm glad that digital code makes up for
so you can read it on your iPad.
3.5 pages of content you get. It's ridiculous. But I digress. What else did you like from the last year, Shaun?
I thought Wolverine and the X-Men was one of the best Marvel books up until Hawkeye came out, but I just love them. I'm not a huge X-Men fan. I could care less about the X-Men. I read this book. I read the first issue. The first issue came out in 2011, so late 2011. So it started picking up in 2012 and it tied into Avengers vs. X-Men, but it didn't tie in. You didn't need to read Avengers vs. X-Men to get it. It was just phenomenal storytelling. It's just Wolverine running the school, Jean Grey Academy for all these youngsters again, and seeing all these people try and help out the school, like Dupe as the student guidance counselor is awesome.
I love Dupe.
Dupe's one of the best characters in comics that doesn't get used. And Toad as the groundskeeper and janitor, and just Kitty being one of the teachers. It's just a phenomenal book. And it's not what you expect from a Wolverine book. It's not just bloodshed and violence every issue. There is fighting, but it's just a lot of humor. And Jason Aaron is one of the best writers in comics. I don't think he gets appreciated enough credit. Scalp from him was amazing. It doesn't seem like enough people talk about that. But I thought that was probably one of the best Marvel books besides Hawkeye. DC, like I said earlier, Batman, Death of the Family came out, and that was great. like the whole Batman run, even with the Court of Owls, was just amazing. Scott Snyder took over Batman, which is one of their top selling books already, and just made it the book that you had to read if you're reading comics. Like if you weren't reading that, you sort of felt out of the comic loop. And he just nailed it with it. He gets the Joker's sick, twisted personality. He gets Batman's detective skills really well. And he even gets the side characters, like when Robin or Nightwing appear, which they don't appear often. That's awesome because it's a Batman book. It's not Batman or Robin or Nightwing. They don't need to be in every issue. But when they appear, he just seems to get that whole Batman family well. So, and indie-wise, I don't know, you nailed it with Saga. Saga was one of the best books. I don't know. Luther Strode wrap up last year?
Yeah, I think it wrapped up kind of early to mid-year. That was a really good book. I'm a big fan of Manhattan Projects.
Manhattan Projects is great.
It's all wacky, crazy.
You need to like sit down and read that and not expect anything else. Don't just sit in silence and read that. Yeah. There's too much going on.
There was some other stuff that came out that's kind of, I guess it's on a weird hiatus now. Secret is really good, but only 2 issues have been out, I believe, and they're just, I don't know what's going on with that. It was a really cool book. Kind of in the same vein as Thief of Thieves, which is another good book that came out last year. That, it's Kirkman plotting it, so of course it's getting all kinds of fanboy love. But it's a good book, so I'm not mad that it's getting love. I think it might be a little overrated. It's a very good book, but I don't think it's like the best thing on the shelves.
I don't think it should be selling for $80 on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I have a run of it in there in my box that, I could, if I ever decide to, I can make a little chunk of money off of it. But it's a good book. Like, I like reading it every month, but I don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread or anything. Let's see. I said Manhattan Projects. There was a couple miniseries or maxi series or whatever you want to call them. I'm not sure what to call it if it's more than 6 issues. That came out last year that I haven't heard anybody really getting a lot of hype for. I guess the one that's gotten the most hype, but still not enough, was New Deadwardians, which was a really good book. It was 8 issues, a weird alternate history, Victorian era vampires and zombies, and just a weird little book. Very good, interesting art, great story. I've heard a few people talking about it, but it just didn't seem like it got as much hype as I think it should have.
It's one of those Vertigo books that they pushed out. They pushed out like those 4 or 5 for $1 to try and get you hooked in. That one just kind of fell behind. Everyone loved Ferris was one of them.
Ferris and Saucer Country.
Saucer Country. There's one other one that people really liked a lot. I don't remember what it was, but it was probably the highest selling one.
The other thing that came out last year, which surprised me, I think because it ran 12 issues, and some people, if a maxi is going to run 12 issues, some people tend to lose interest, but it was awesome, was Shade. If you're a fan of the James Robinson Starman stuff, this is James Robinson writing one of the main Starman characters in his own maxi series, and it's basically all about the history of the Shade and his family and his life, and gives you a lot of insight into the character, and every issue is very different, and you just learn a lot about him as a character, and you really start to feel for him even more than you already have before. I really just think it had been so long since the original Starman series came out that maybe it just didn't have the punch that it should have had. But at the same time, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
They released it at a good time because the trades are just now coming out. The big omnibus trades that collect like 12 issues.
And if you don't have that Starman run, you should absolutely go out and buy it. It is really good.
I'm buying those trades.
Yeah, it's one of the best. It's probably, I think, the best superhero ongoing series that has ever been done. I mean, from front to back, it was awesome. And then the Shade is just, if you've been a fan of it, the Shade just goes really well with it and helps you love a character even more than you already did love him, if that's possible, because the Shade's such an awesome guy. He's my buddy. I would go have coffee with him. I think he's cool. I would like to have his autograph.
That would be pretty awesome.
What else? Anything else from last year that you absolutely loved?
I don't know. I feel like I should have. I'll write these down this year. So we do this again. I'll be like, I have a list that's a year old. I don't really. I'm trying to think. Aquaman surprised me. I mean, yeah, it was Jeff Johns, but I was just like, no one likes Aquaman. Jeff Johns can't save Aquaman. Jeff Johns saved Aquaman. It was actually really good. The whole Atlantis arc leading into the Throne of Atlantis.
That's good so far too. The Throne of Atlantis stuff is really good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, can't wait for the next issue of that one.
And I like that it kind of makes fun of itself. It references all the pop culture, making fun of Aquaman. Bits that you've seen on various like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that, and it references that, and it's not afraid to poke fun of itself, being really good. Like the others, the team guys he had, like that Prisoner of War character was so cool. Like after reading that, awesome. You hope that Jeff Johns will throw out a little mini series of just like these guys, because every one of those characters was really neat. Vostok and they were awesome. Like. That book is really, really good. Surprisingly,
one of the Valiant books. I don't know if you mentioned it came out last year, but it was the one I was like, I can't wait to read more of this. Archer and Armstrong.
Good book.
I read that first issue. I was like, I need more of this right away. Where's the rest of this? And every month they come out, and that's one of the first 3 or 4 books I read, just because it's a great, great read.
I was worried about it at first because you never know how a relaunch is going to do, especially when it's not like they're continuing it like what they did with Glory and Prophet and stuff like that, which they've done really well with those books. Image has, but. You think, oh, they're going to relaunch Valiant. What's it going to be like? Are they just going to take off from where they left, or are they going to start over? And they started over with everything. And you got characters like Bloodshot, who I was never a huge fan of, but they're doing really well with it. But then you've got characters like Archer and Armstrong, which was one of my favorite books from them.
It's like a fan favorite from what I hear.
Oh, yeah. It was probably, I think it was probably their most loved book. That and Harbinger, I think, were probably their 2 most loved books. And they're such good characters that that you have to be really careful with how you write them, because they have such strong personalities, and it's like, how are they going to do this and do it right, but not just rehash the same old stuff? And I think they've done a really good job of bringing it into modern day with modern day topics, but still have it's a book where one of the characters is thousands of years old and has all this history, and one of them is very much. Just kicked out of the nest and very
16.
naive.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job with it. Like, you're right. It was an awesome, awesome book. That and Shadow Man are probably my 2 favorites. And the 2 I was most worried about how they were going to do it. And Shadow Man's very different from the original Shadow Man, but very, very good.
It's only 3 issues in, but yeah, it's really good.
That's actually one of the books of the week that I thought was the best. Shadow Man number 3 is really, really good. It's doing a good job of taking the old character and bringing him into the modern day and putting a new twist on him and making him very, like, you can see the nods to the old stuff and really appreciate it, but you can also see how much they've done to make it new and fresh, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, to people like me who have never read any of the Valiant stuff, reading that, it's just like, okay, I get all these characters, and I get the Shadow Man book, and I'm hooked into it. And I read the 3rd issue a couple days ago, and I loved it. I thought it was one of the best comics this week. So I guess that's our segue to this week's new comics then?
Yeah, I think so.
Walking Dead 106 came out, and Walking Dead's one of those books that if you spoil it, people are going to get angry because so many people read and trade, but at the same time you can catch up in issues. It's not that hard. It's such a great read, though, every week, and this Negan character just continues to be he's probably the worst person since the Governor. He's just absolutely horrible.
He's a dick.
You like him, but you want to hate him so much just because Kirkman writes him so he would be like a 25, 26-year-old douchebag who's in charge. And he's a pompous ass. And everything about him, just him messing with Carl. Like, you just want Carl to man up and just do something about it, but it's a bad idea. And yeah, the cliffhanger at the end of this week's was just... There's another one. Did you read it yet?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, I won't say too much then. But it's one of those books that every week it comes out, you have to read it right away. It's that great of a book. 106 issues in, and it's still that great.
I'm one of the people that likes to read it in chunks. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full story arc or a trade, but I like to read like at least 2 or 3 issues at a time, because Kirkman is really good and or bad about cliffhangers. Like, the last page is always like, damn it, I gotta have more right now. So that's
how this one is.
I feel like I'm less antsy and angst filled if I can get like a 2 or 3 issue chunk. I mean, like I said, it doesn't have to be a whole trade worth. It doesn't have to be 6 or 7 issues or whatever. It could be like, I can go pick up 104, 105, 106 and read them together, and I feel much more satisfied if I read like 2 or 3 at a time. Even though at the end of that 2 or 3 issue chunk you're reading, you're still going to be a cliffhanger you're getting to. but I feel better, you know. It is still a good book. I'm still very happy with it. I'm kind of tired of everyone talking about nothing but Walking Dead all the time. But, you know, when something hits mainstream
Well,
pop
the
culture
TV
like
show
that,
gets 12 million viewers a week, though.
yeah, you're going to hear a lot about it. And, like, at work, whenever somebody finds out I'm a comic book fan, they automatically talk about Walking Dead. It's like, yes, I know all about Walking Dead. Which I guess is, like, first world problems. Like, oh, my God, so many people like this cool thing I like. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just you can only talk about it so much.
And then you find the people who only watch the TV show. Like, well, what do you think's going to happen? Like, I read the comics, so I sort of know what's going to happen. But Kirkman keeps a fresh twist on it. But like, just go read the comics. Here's the first volume. It's $10. Enjoy.
I did find out that one way to make a lot of people angry is to go and tell them what's going to happen in the next 30 or 40 issues of the comic. People were spoiling the show for me, and I got kind of angry, so I went and posted the next 2 or 3 big
I didn't help you with that. What are you talking about?
storyline changes that were happening in the book. You know, that they're nowhere near that in the show, obviously. But people were very angry, and I was like, "Well, it's the comic. You don't know."
The comic's been out since 2003.
Yeah, I was like, "You don't know if it's going to happen in the show." And I had like old friends get really angry with me about this stuff. But you know, I'm sorry. Put on your big boy pants and shut up. Deal with it.
What was another one this week? We said we were going to talk about 4. That one.
The End Times of Bram and Ben. What an awesome little book this is. It's a mini-series. I think it's a 4-issue mini. First issue just came out. The art's very cool. If you like Chew, it's very similar art to Chew. It's basically God throws the rapture down. People all over the world disappear. But obviously not everybody, just the people, I guess, that deserve to be raptured.
Yeah,
Quote,
I
unquote,
think that's how that works.
And the rest of the world is just sitting there looking around going, what the hell just happened? But they have to continue on because that's the only thing that happens. Like, people just disappear and the rest of the world is still there and has to go on. So,
Now, here's my question. Did any, like, people with power in charge, like presidents, king, anything like that?
they haven't really gone into a lot of that yet. I mean, they
Okay.
show, like, you know, cars crashing and you know, people in the middle of doing stuff just disappear. So, like, there's obviously that chaotic, hectic, holy shit, this pilot just disappeared while he's flying this plane, you know? Like, it's like that really shitty Left Behind series that they did the couple movies with Kirk Cameron in. It's like that, where like, oh, rapture happens, people disappear. So the people are dealing with the ramifications of that. And you've got the people that are, you know, a lot of people that don't realize it's the rapture. They're thinking aliens and conspiracy and, you know, terrorists and all this stuff. And then you got a lot of other people that know it's the rapture or think they know
terrorists
it's the
just
rapture.
make people disappear.
Exactly. That's how
They
it
have
works.
that technology now.
Damn you, Obama! But the story focuses around these two guys that are like roommate buddies or whatever, kind of like a Clerks kind of duo. And one of them gets raptured, but then he reappears later because they raptured him on accident. It was basically a clerical error, so they put him back on Earth. And he talks about how heaven sucked and it's full of boring people doing nothing. And they're all naked, but they're not supermodel hot naked. They're
So what you're saying is the writer's just looking to make friends with this book. He just wants to make people happy with this book.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like super blasphemous or whatever. Like, I mean, the character that gets raptured is kind of, I mean, he's a little blasphemous, but like, it deals with the people around them going, oh shit, what just happened? What do we do now? We just have to keep going on. Like, one of the guys in the story is a teacher, and it shows him going back to school, and they're in like the teacher's lounge hanging out, and all these people are talking about what's going on and why, and you know, they've all got different theories, and none of them really want to say it's the rapture. But then they're like, well, who are we going to have left? Like, if it's the rapture, these kids are all innocent. They're obviously going to be raptured. You know, why would God not take all the kids? So this guy goes to the classroom and he's looking around, and there's nobody in the classroom except for one kid. He's sitting in the back just looking all kind of creepy and weird. And the guy's just thinking, man,
It's always that one.
what did that kid do? Like, it makes you think, like, when all the little innocent children are raptured and there's one kid left, like, is that the one that's, like, killing the neighborhood cats and burying them and setting shit on fire? Like,
That's the future Antichrist right there.
yeah. And so it's just a weird, funny book that is, it's kind of cool because it really does deal with the, like, if the rapture happened, you know, and these people all disappear all over the world, the rest of the world's just not going to stop. It keeps going. So it's really neat, and it's funny and kind of ridiculous. and I don't know. I really liked it.
I gotta read that. All right,
book.
so one of the two big books this week was, we'll go with the second one so we can go on our rant after it. Star Wars #1 came out, and this is written by Brian Wood, and it's not drawn by Alex Ross, despite all the advertisement. He just drew the covers. I forget who actually drew it because I don't have the issue in front of me.
But the art is really good.
The art's really good. It takes place between A New Hope and Return of the
Empire
Strikes Back. Sorry, it takes place there, and it's just a really good story. And anytime anyone reads a Star Wars comic, they're always hesitant on it, just because Star Wars is such a fandom and such a well-established thing. But this is just a great read. It's mainly Luke and Leia, and just showing that Leia really is a badass, despite what the movie showed her just being helpless all the time. She's actually a badass in this, and her flying the X-Wing, I had to do a double take when I first read that panel. I'm like, what? That's really going on? That's cool.
Dark Horse's take on Leia has always been good. Like, if you read the Dark Empire stuff, it was like the one of the early Dark Horse Star Wars books that came out, years and years ago. It was, it made Leia a badass, which is how she should be. I mean, she's a Skywalker, and basically she's a badass just as much as Luke. And, if you've read the books, the thousands of Star Wars books that have come out over the last few years, they go a lot more into how she's a really good, deep character. But, in just the general Star Wars universe that your average fan knows, they don't really portray her to be that awesome. But in these books, Dark Horse has always done a good job, I think, of showing that she's a really good character with a lot of strengths that, people just leave on the table. A lot of writers would leave on the table, but they don't. I think it's really good. Brian Wood does a really good job with this book.
Yeah. Okay, so the big book from this week was Superior Spider-Man #1.
Oh, Dan Slott.
I thought it was okay up until the end.
I liked the book.
Up until the end?
All the way to the last page. And I've always liked Dan Slott. When I first read his She-Hulk stuff, I loved him. He's a fantastic writer. He's funny. He really brings out a lot of aspects to characters that no one ever thinks about. Like, She-Hulk was just a big bruiser character for a long time with not a lot of depth, and that She-Hulk series he wrote was just funny and brought her out in the open and made her just a really interesting, lovable character. And I think he's just great with Spider-Man. I mean, what's he been writing for over 100 issues now?
Yeah, since 600.
And he's had to deal with a lot of the ramifications that, like Straczynski and other guys did before him, and he's had to really carry this character, and he's done a great job. And when I first heard what they were going to do with Amazing Spider-Man 700, I was like, oh, great, another stupid hype book, Death of Superman, Breaking the Bat, Human Torch dead for 8 seconds,
He was dead for almost a year.
Yeah.
Almost.
A year. That's 8 seconds in real life.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, whatever. But then I read the book. I read Amazing Spider-Man 700, and I really liked how they did it. I thought it was cool, and I liked the dynamic between Doc Ock and Peter Parker, and I liked how he wanted to be a better Spider-Man and how he really felt for Peter Parker and wanted to be better and respected him, and he was going to try to do good.
Leave his legacy.
Yeah, he wanted to. He's like, man, I could really do something with this. This guy's got this life built up that I can continue, and I can do all the things I wanted to do that I didn't get to do, and be a good person and still be an arrogant asshole at the same time. And I was fine with that. And then you read Superior Spider-Man #1, and it's just...
Ugh. Here's my thing. Mary Jane has known Peter Parker since what? They were 5? Somewhere around there? When has he ever called her a woman? How does Mary Jane not pick up on this? How does she not pick up on anything like that? Also, aren't the Avengers going to pick up? That's not how Spider-Man does stuff.
Well, you've seen a teaser for it shows Spider-Man, and it's got the Avengers in the background, and it says fired. They're going to fire him from the Avengers, basically. And, I can understand that, he's going to... It's not the same character. He's a different person. There's going to be differences, but he's not likable. Every time he's on panel in this book, you just hate him. He's just a dick.
Maybe that has to be what Slott's going for, though. He has to go, you just want Peter Parker back. You just need him back.
Yeah. He's not likable anyway. He treats everyone like crap. like his coworkers and Mary Jane.
Yeah, how does no one pick up on this when every time you see Peter Parker's like the nicest guy? All of a sudden, just complete 180 personality.
I don't know. But I could even get past that. I mean, I know there's going to be some growing pains, and maybe that, I'm sure that's part of the plot device is that he's always been a jerk, and he's got to learn how to not be a jerk anymore, and that's going to, and he's got to learn how to be a new person. And it's going to take some time, so maybe, I'm sure there's going to be some character growth and development with that, and that's fine. But, like, all right, I got to spoil it. I'm sure some of you haven't read it yet, but it's everywhere right now.
We should probably post spoiler warnings at the beginning of every episode or something.
Yeah, we're going to try not to spoil all the books or very many books, but sometimes, when there's such an overwhelming thing that happens in a book, you just have to talk about it to talk about the book. So we're not going to really spoil books in general. Unless it's an older book, because we are going to talk about some older books now and then. But this is a definite spoiler. Like, the last page, Doc Ock Spider-Man is beating up one of the new Sinister Six. I think it's either the Beetle or Speed Demon. I can't remember which one.
Speed Demon. It's just beating himself. Yeah, it's Speed Demon because he layers the floor.
Oh, yeah, he does like the frictionless floor or whatever. And he's just beating the piss out of him. And he's just, they go into the thing in the last story arc where he basically punches off the jaw of the Scorpion?
The Rhino?
Or somebody. He punches off somebody's jaw and realizes that he's like, holy crap, Peter Parker's been holding back all this time. He's incredibly strong. So this guy is, I know he's dealing with his strength and how much Peter has to hold himself back to not, kind of that Superman thing where if your slightest shrug could knock over buildings, you've got to be really careful with what you do. But he's just beating this this character senseless.
All of a sudden, someone stops him.
All of a sudden, in the last page, this ghostly blue hand grabs his wrist in mid-swing and stops him. And it's Peter Parker's ghost in full-on blue ghost Peter Parker standing there talking.
I want everything in my power to stop you from killing anyone. That's it. You're not going to try and figure out a way to come back. That should be your top priority.
Yeah,
get back.
He's basically talking to himself in Ghost World, but for some reason he can interfere with the real world. And why he chooses to stop him from beating a criminal to death and not
be like, "Hey, Wolverine, smell him. That's not me."
Yeah, but why he's not stopping him from trying to date rape Mary Jane? I don't know about all that, but
it's a very popular subject that comes up every time I read about Mary Jane date rape. I feel like I'm missing something. There's no obvious date rape scene here.
No, he's creepy. He's so creepy around Mary Jane, and it's obvious it's not Peter, and it sets off every alarm.
Superior Spider-Man's supposed to be like a Teen Plus book, I guess. I thought the panel with the boobs, I was like, this doesn't seem like a Spider-Man book right now. Yeah. I've been reading Spider-Man since I was 12, and that doesn't seem like a Spider-Man book.
And I'm thinking of all the things Peter Parker would choose to interfere with first. If he was a ghost, and he was going to be able to full-on Patrick Swayze the world, the first time he would step in would be any time that he was dealing with Mary Jane. That would be his first priority, would be to save Mary Jane from any possible negatives and not saving some random villain from getting beat to death. Of course, Peter Parker wouldn't let that happen, but first things first, he's there when Mary Jane is in any kind of trouble. And even though they were just at dinner, the ghost of Peter Parker is going to be there. And maybe they're going to show that. Maybe they're going to, I'm sure as part of a plot device, they're going to maybe flash back to Parker's ghost standing over his shoulder at every time he interacts with Mary Jane. I'm sure. I don't know. But
I want to give it the first story arc. I don't know if I can stick with it past that.
I'll try, because Dan Slott's really good. But, man, I'm really disappointed so far.
Maybe when he comes back, I'll pick it up again.
I don't know. It's just, to me, if you're going to kill him, cool. We all know it's comics. We all know it's not for good. That's fine. But it didn't last an issue. There's not been an issue without Peter Parker actually in it. Whether he's in heaven or in Doc Ock's body or a ghost, he's been in every one. And it's dude, you didn't even give him an issue? I don't know. It bugged me. It just really bugged me.
They gave him 20, or wait, no, it was a 32-page book. They gave him 31 pages. That's close enough. That's more than most Marvel books.
That's true. I guess it's more than what happened in Fear itself.
Oh, that book. I choose not to think about that. Or any big books from Marvel recently.
Yeah. I do want to go back a little bit, though. I want to go back to the Star Wars for a minute.
Okay.
Because I don't want to end things on such a sour Superior Spider-Man note. With the Star Wars thing, I think it's gonna. I mean, it's obviously hot. It's
Sold out.
It's sold out in 24 hours. So if you see one on the shelf, grab it because there's no reorders for this bad boy. The art's good. The writing's good. It's already on InvestComics. They highlighted it as like one of their top picks or one of their hot picks, and they're right because it's one sold on eBay yesterday for $41. It's averaging $10 to $15 all day long for a book that came out last week and is $3. And it's already you pick it up off the shelf and you've tripled your money just for that alone. But it's a good book, and you got to realize how hard it must be to write this book because you already got the full story of what's going to happen in Star Wars. You know what's going to happen. So Brian Wood is
filling those gaps.
Yeah, Brian Wood is so handcuffed with what he can or can't do. He has to stay in a very strict, just cocoon almost of what he can or can't do. Like you already know what's going to happen in the next movie. He's not just taking a big gap of time where nothing happens and he can fill in little mini stories. He's taking a very narrow gap and fitting these characters in and giving them, making you want to read about the little shit that happens between the big stuff.
Yeah, I think there was a 6-month gap between, like storyline wise, between New Hope and Empire.
Yeah,
I think there's like this is in like their universe. I think there's like a 2 or 3 year gap in Empire and Return.
Yeah, because I think that's when Dark Empire happens, is in between Empire and Return. And then there's, in the book stuff, in the Star Wars book universe, there's the Truce of Bakura, which is, I believe, don't quote me because it's been a long time. But
there's too much Star Wars stuff.
It happens, I think it happens also in between. But like, this is also, you got to think, he's writing when this is before Luke has learned any of the Force powers. It's before Luke realizes that Leia's his sister, and after the kiss that happens in New Hope. So he's got to deal with how does
the kiss was in Empire.
Is it an Empire? I thought it was.
Yeah, it's right after he gets out of the tube because Leia's trying to like show Han that he's not hot shit.
Mm. He's got to deal with like the attraction between Luke and Leia, but can't go overboard with it because they are siblings.
Yeah,
and it's pre-Force stuff, and they haven't really met Vader yet. There's a lot of stuff that he can't get into yet because it hasn't happened yet. So this guy's really handcuffed with what he can or can't do. And he's doing a really good job. And a couple of the complaints I've heard is that the book is a little wordy. Well, hey, you're welcome to reading, kids. But
it's Star Wars.
Yeah, but it's one of the things I heard is a little too techno-babbly with a lot of the dogfighting stuff and a lot of just
just read it, accept it, and move on.
Yeah, I thought it was good. And I thought it was cool. It's got to be tough. This is back when Han was just kind of an asshole and hadn't really fleshed his character out a whole lot. He's really limited on what he can or can't do, and plus it's hard to write in the Star Wars universe anyway because there's so many, like they have to be approved, and every word they write has to fall into the canon. So I think he's doing a great job with all the restrictions he has, and I don't envy him at all, especially with him writing. I think he's writing 5 full-time books right now, plus Mara.
Yeah, don't talk about that. Massive is coming out.
Yeah.
He's writing like 2 or 3 Marvel books.
Yeah, he's writing Conan. He's writing a ton of stuff.
He's a busy man.
And I thought it was awesome. Like, I can't imagine the stress it has to be writing a Star Wars book because, every page has to be approved. And I'm sure they're going to, you got these Star Wars historians out there that work for Disney / Lucasfilm or whatever that are, oh no, this isn't, this
lightsaber has the wrong button right here.
Yeah, this X-Wing isn't numbered this, it's numbered this. Like, I'm sure there's so much crap he has to go through. And I think he's doing a great job. And the art, I can't remember the artist's name right now because it's not in front of me, but I really like the art. It's a pretty book. And I really like how they handled Darth Vader because this is right after the the first Death Star gets destroyed. And so the Emperor's not happy, and he very much expresses it in this book that he's not happy with Vader letting some farm boy.
All I picture every time I see the Emperor now is just Robot Chicken Emperor.
Yeah.
Some punk ass.
I picture the G4 Emperor finding a new job.
Yes. I'm trying to look up the artist for you.
It is a very, very good book, though. And if you're a Star Wars fan at all, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans, obviously, it kind of comes with the territory if you're a comic guy. But a lot of Star Wars fans don't read all these books that are coming out because there's so many. It's so overwhelming to try to catch up with the Star Wars universe because there's 100 books just about X-wings and like there's the Old Republic stuff. There's just a million books out there, and it's really like some people just want to read about the characters they know and love. And in the current Star Wars universe, those characters are old or dead or have kids and grandkids and everything else. And some people just don't want to read that. They want to read about the tried and true characters they love. And this book does that. It goes back to that original stuff. But you're not going to find badass Luke swinging a lightsaber around.
Not yet, you won't.
Not yet. Throwing people around with the Force. It's not to that point yet, but it's a really, really interesting, well done book.
Okay, I'm not finding it.
And if you can find a copy, grab it because like I said, if it's on the shelf, that's it. It is sold out.
We're sold out. We sold out yesterday.
So, and there's a Hastings variant. There's not a lot of Hastings out there.
Yeah, I thought that place went under.
Yeah, all the ones I've ever seen are gone, but I guess there's some in Texas still. Like I guess it's in certain states have a few left, and Hastings is still doing variants. There's a lot of variants out there for that they do, and Hastings Star Wars variant is already pretty hot. I mean, this is a book that's already sold out and hard to get your hands on for under. I really don't think you'll be able to pick up a copy on eBay for under $10.
No.
I think $15 is probably going to be your average. I looked earlier, and that's why you should keep up with InvestComics because they really do tell you what's going to be hot. They're really good about.
Jay's on top of that. Man.
Yeah, Jay is amazing at that kind of stuff. He's there's really no way to tell all the time. It's a very speculative market, but he's pretty dead on with picking these books. So pay attention because he called Star Wars and. I just saw one, like I said earlier today, went for $41 for just not even the Hastings variant, the regular cover. And if you can find one on the shelf, grab it, because if not, if you eBay it, you're going to spend $15. And if you live near Hastings, go grab that variant, because it's rare. And who knows, all the Hastings might suddenly go out of business tomorrow. That's what happened to all the ones I've ever seen. Back home, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. They closed overnight. Like, one day I was in there, and the next day I came, and that shit was gone. So... check that book out. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other current books? Is that pretty much covered?
That's pretty much it. I think next week we'll have actual stack of books to talk about.
Yeah, this was kind of our just test run, so we'll be a little more organized next week.
Next week there's 4 Death of the Family books.
Yeah, we're also going to have guests. We just wanted to do this first one with just the Shaun Shaun, or Sorenson and Cobble, if you want to be able to distinguish us. We have a Facebook page. Just look up Breaking the Fourth Wall. And we have a Twitter. We haven't started using it yet because this is our first episode. But somebody out there already has that Twitter name. So
seriously,
we had to use The Real BT4W. It's the Real BT, the number 4W is our Twitter handle. And we're going to get a website started up soon, but we're going to start out with the Twitter mainly, or you could email us at therealbt4w@gmail.com. So send us some questions, send us some critique. If you've got books out there that you like that you want us to talk about, we will be glad to talk about it. If you're an indie creator and you would like us to talk about your book, we'll give it a review. No guarantees we'll like it, but we'll give it a shot and we'll be honest. We don't want to spend a whole lot of time on negatives and stuff we don't like on the show. We want to encourage people to buy books, so we want to mainly talk about stuff that's good.
There's too many good books out there not to encourage that.
Yeah, and we don't want to there are shows out there if you want to hear a book get trashed. We'll be honest, we don't like a book, we'll let you know. And we want to try to cover everything. We don't want to just cover Big Two. We want to cover Image. We want to cover Dark Horse and IDW and Boom and Dynamite and Valiant and all these other titles, or all these other publishers out there.
Not so much Avatar. That's more your thing. I can't handle some of the Avatar stuff.
Yeah,
That's
some of the Avatar is crazy.
Sometimes.
Crossed is a little, is kind of jumping the shark for me. Caligula was really good, but wacky. And the new Caligula book just started, so
I draw the line at that stuff. That's just too much for me. I can't get behind that.
Well,
I understand how people can. That's cool, but
I tended to like I got into Avatar originally because I'm a big Warren Ellis fan. I also like Joe Lansdale a lot, and they were doing Avatar books for a long time, and I got into them. But now Avatar's, there's still a lot of good stuff out there from Avatar, but it's very niche. Like, it's very over the top violence and sex, and like It's not
Babies
for
being used as footballs.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But we will talk about that. We want to talk about a little bit of everything. Like I said, if you have requests, please let us know. Just remember the real BT number 4W at Gmail or Twitter handle, or just breaking the fourth wall at Facebook. And we're going to be, this will be hosted on InvestComics.com. And like I said, if you live in the Melbourne, Florida area,
Live in Brevard County.
Brevard County,
Really.
or Orlando. You can come all the way from Orlando if you want. We are also co-sponsored by Famous Faces and Funnies in West Melbourne. It's a great comic shop. It's like a co-shop with Get Your Fun On, which is a game shop. So it's a giant like mega store of comics and games and nerdery and just everything awesome with tables everywhere to play games and do stuff. They have a game night every Thursday night where it's like 120 people. It's like a mini con every Thursday night.
Pretty ridiculous sometimes.
And they have movie nights. Last night they did a big screen with Spaceballs. We have a round table every month, one Wednesday a month, where it's
that's coming up.
Yeah,
a bunch of us talking about comics
and pizza to eat and drinks and trivia, and everybody gets a prize.
Geek Trivia is coming up in a couple weeks. Yeah, there's a lot of events going on. Follow them on Facebook too. They post all their events. I post all their events. I don't know how I'm supposed to phrase that.
Yes. So we will talk about a lot of stuff, and we want your input. We will start having guests. We're going to have a third and or a fourth person every week. We're going to have Sebastian from the Famous Faces and Funnies, Invest Comics, Fick.
I'm on that too.
Videos. And Shaun is also a co-host of that. And we're going to have some other friends. We'll have some guys. We'll have some girls. We'll have people that are kind of a little more specialized in one area or another of comics. So we're going to try to make this pretty diverse and pretty broad, and we want to include a little bit of everything. Like I said, we're not afraid to tell you the bad about a book, but we want to really encourage people to read books. So we want to talk about the stuff we love. So, Shaun, you have anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, share this with your friends and spread the word about this.
Yeah, thanks. We hope you like it. We want input. We'll be a little more organized and have a little more structure next episode. Like I said, this was our origin, and just to dip our feet in the water and check it out. So keep up with us. Follow us. We're going to try to do this every week, barring emergencies. And be sure to check out Famous Faces and Funnies and InvestComics.com. Follow their hot picks, man. You can make some money off that. They got some good picks. I mean, if you follow their choice this week, buy a book for $3 and sell it for $40. That's a pretty good margin of profit right there. All right. So I'm Shaun Cobble.
I'm Shaun Sorenson.
And this is Breaking the Fourth Wall. We'll talk to you next time.